If you are experiencing a mental health, substance use, or suicidal crisis, please call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. This is a confidential, no-cost, and available 24/7, 365 service that will connect you with trained crisis counselors. 988 can be dialed from every landline, cell phone, and voice-over internet device in the United States. 988 call services are available in English, Spanish, along with interpretation services in over 150 languages. The number again is 988.
Welcome to Navigating a Broken Vessel, and I tell you what, I have told you before that we've had special episodes, but this one is the specialist of all the special episodes because I have the most awesome person on earth. Person is what I'm trying to say, I promise. His name is Mr. Rowdy Reeve.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. You have no idea.
Dude, I have no doubt that you're excited because I'm excited to have you here. There's something about being with you that just makes me just happy.
Yeah. I literally been thinking about this all day. I'm really happy to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Hopefully, like maybe you didn't get any sleep last night, stuff like that. You're so excited.
Yeah. Like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I wish I would have gotten a gift for you.
Yeah.
But, oh, well. Well, so I'll tell you, here's the thing. Rowdy and I, we've known each other for 35 years or so. In fact, probably 35 years exactly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And I moved to a small town in southern Utah, Hurricane, right?
Perfect. Yep.
Hurricane. Or how do they say it if they've been there a long time?
My dad says Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Yeah.
All right.
And I make fun of him all the time for it. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So I moved there and, struggled having friends. That's the way it was. I in a previous episode have talked about my middle school years and coming into Hurricane, and it's hard to move.
Yeah,
it's hard to move. But you and I don't know, we hit it off. I think
I would agree with that, right? And I remember I listened to your podcast on that, and I would say I want to challenge something on that, Dave. I think it was the other way around. I think I was kind of just like not really knowing where I was going. So your friendship really kind of set us apart, and I think we just had a go of it. It was really good.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's the thing I always tell people, young people, find a good friend.
Absolutely.
Find a good friend. Friends make all the difference. In fact, I remember hearing one time someone saying, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Dude. Yeah.
Dave, that's really deep.
I had to ponder for like an hour. I was like, okay, what's going on with this? But good. Yeah. I mean, you find a good friend and things are going to be fine. You find bad friends and things are not going to be so fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Sets the foundation. Here we are 35 years later.
That's right.
Man.
Still really good friends. And I tell you, one of the other things I've noticed as time has gone on, how alike we are in the way like our career paths and other things. I mean, it's different jobs, sure, but still kind of moving around and things like that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a lot to be said with that, right? And we can touch base on it a little bit later, but I think there's a reason for it.
Yeah, I think people kind of are drawn to one another when they're like that.
Yeah.
So tell us, the listeners don't know who you are. They're like,
okay.
First of all, so Rowdy.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
tell me about the name.
You know what? The name, it just, my parents gave it to me and they've never actually came out and said, this is why we named you Rowdy. I don't know if they just had a really good childhood and they're, the 60s were really good to them or not, but I don't know what the deal was, but Rowdy's my name. And
it's a real name.
It's my real name on everything that I own. Driver's license. I used to get carded a lot, right? And people be like, is that your real name? I'm like, yeah, it's my real name. But yep, that's me, Rowdy.
Yeah. And so I remember, and I'm sure everybody on earth ever asked this, like my parents would be like, so Rowdy, is he rowdy or is he a good, parents always wondering what your friends are like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I remember, did I have that conversation with your mom? It feels like we had that conversation with your mom. She's like, how rowdy actually are you? I'm like, it's not really a thing.
Yeah, you're pretty chill, pretty easygoing.
I would like to think so. I mean, yeah, we kind of did our thing in middle school, high school, but I'd like to think I'm pretty chill right now.
Yeah, totally. So tell me, I mean, middle school, high school, we hung out together since that time, and there's been other things going on. Tell me about kind of what's happened since high school.
Oh man, since high school, I went on a missionary service for my church and came back. You and I Some of our other friends lived together for a little while during some college years. I think you and I worked. We didn't have that college moment at the time.
I kind of tried college and it didn't really fit the bill for me. It didn't really work out.
Did you? I don't remember you going to college.
I tried. Like I went to geology for like 2 weeks and
Okay.
that was it. But yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I worked just a random warehouse job and then got married like we all did, and just kind of going through life, and had a bunch of different jobs up until the one that I feel like that I'm meant to do, the one I'm in right now. But I worked as a law enforcement officer for a few years, owned my own business, an indoor shooting range, and worked in community mental health, suicide prevention, that kind of thing. And all those kind of led me down this road to where I'm right now. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor in the state of Utah, and CMHC would be the letters behind my name. And that's where I'm at, and that's what I totally love.
So I think that's amazing. Because essentially you want to help people.
Yeah.
And that I know ever since I've known you, you've been the kind of person that cares for other people and wants people to be successful. I've also noticed that especially people young people, young people who are just trying to do a good job here in the world and trying to figure this stuff out. And I've noticed that you have that connection to help people to just do better with their lives. I think it's phenomenal. I want to ask you, so you kind of touch on it, law enforcement.
Yep.
And I had a shooting range and now I'm a therapist, and that's over the course of like 20 years.
Yep.
Right. So tell me, law enforcement, what was that all about?
Law enforcement, got into that thinking that was just a really good career, and I wanted to be a part of that. Again, helping people, right, in some way or another. What I was really drawn to, I work for the county sheriff's office here, and when you work at a sheriff's office, they put you in the jail to work for however many years until you decide that if you want to go out on patrol or not. When I was in the jail working, I gravitated towards the booking area. That's where all the mental health stuff was there. And I thought, man, this is really cool, kind of be a part of this. And I think that was really, whether it's conscious or subconscious, I think that's kind of where I started thinking, man, I like this. This is really challenging. This is really fun. And then when you find yourself not working in that profession anymore, I went to work for my business. I started an indoor shooting range, and with some other guys that I know. And
What was the name of it? It's still around.
yeah, it's a really attractive name. It's called Rowdy's Range. Really kind of a neat place to go. It's still around. Yep, the building's still there. The business is still there. They're thriving and doing good things. But a month after, I might get these dates wrong, but a month after we opened our range, we had somebody die by suicide on our range. And through that process of, there was a lot of questions with our staff. Hey, should we have noticed any signs, anything like that? We brought in an outside agency to teach suicide prevention for the staff. And I thought, I'm going to sit in on this class. And I sat in on this class for suicide prevention, and it just sunk its claws in. And I was like, yep, this is it right here. This is kind of what I like. This is what I want. I approached the instructor afterwards. I'm like, hey, if I wanted to teach this class or help out, what would I need to do? And it's funny because I still keep in contact. I still work side by side this instructor that was there. She was kind of taken back. She's like, here's a gun guy asking to help with classes on suicide prevention. And she's like, yeah, you come and take this class, you get certified to teach this course, and then you volunteer in the community and you do that. So that's exactly what I did. I went and took this class, became certified to teach this suicide prevention for the community, and started volunteering to do that for a number of years. And that kind of eventually led me to work in this outside mental health agency that taught prevention in communities. And it was then that I started thinking, man, I really want to see the other side of this, right? Therapy is another side of it. And I still remember I was teaching a class for pharmaceutical techs.
Sure.
That made me sound like more educated than I am.
Pharmacological
Student body. So I was teaching this class to pharmacy tech students. And afterwards, normally you're there about 2 hours, and then a couple people will stay after and be like, hey, that was really good. Here's a donut, that kind of thing. And after this one class, There was probably 15 people, maybe 10, 15 people that stayed after. We were there for hours. And most of them, looking back, I thought most of them are activated or triggered by some of the things we talked about. And they were asking questions and kind of starting to process this stuff that was in their head. And I was like, wow, I'm not a therapist, you guys. You guys can't, I don't have anything for you right now. And I remember leading that class, driving down this main road in this town and going, I don't like that feeling. I want to be able to help, right? And so I thought, yep, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a therapist. The problem I ran into was I didn't feel like I was a type of person that could be a therapist. I had this image in my head of what a therapist would look like and how they would act and how they would talk, and I didn't fit any of those boxes. I'm very sarcastic. Um, I don't know. In my head, I just pictured this guy with glasses, a really nice haircut, which you can tell I don't have, and a cardigan sweater and all this stuff just sitting there taking notes. And I just thought, oh, that's not me.
So like a notebook in the hand, pipe in the mouth, tell me more about your parents.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, let's talk about your folks kind of thing. And that just wasn't me. So I really struggled with that at first.
So, I mean, there's a term for that, I think, isn't there? Is that, I mean, something you're familiar with? I feel like maybe imposter syndrome. Is that something?
Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Thanks for bringing that up, Dave. I haven't felt that this week. I have actually a lot. And we can talk about that in a minute. But yeah, imposter syndrome. You just feel like you don't fit that mold.
And that's one thing I always tell people. I mean, I'm not licensed in any way. You are, but I'm not. But none of this should be medical advice.
Sure.
You should see a therapist if anyone who's listening should see a therapist. Should
Absolutely.
go seek, professional help,
Yeah.
whether from you or from someone else would
Sure.
be great. But yeah, I've heard that imposter syndrome. I felt that myself, and that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a horrible feeling. I don't like it at all. And it's really however you want to word it, is that jagged pill you have to swallow down or you have to stick in the back closet for a little bit just to kind of get to where you want to go. And that's what I had to do. I'm like, I'm not going to listen to that voice. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And it wasn't until like I've had it the whole time. Even this week, I felt like, man, what are you doing? You probably, man, you don't belong in this profession.
So explain it to me. What is imposter syndrome?
So imposter syndrome to me feels a lot like for me, I'm going to speak for me and kind of what that looks like for me. I work around other therapists and I look at other therapists and I'm like, man, that person has it together. And this person is really what they fit this part of what a therapist should be in my mind. And I don't fit that part. So I'm just an imposter. I'm not doing what I think I should be doing as a therapist, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think the idea of it being imposter syndrome, I think would mean it must not be true, right?
Mhm.
So you're telling yourself, oh, I don't fit the mold. I'm not like this person, this thing that I imagine should
Yeah.
be perfect. And I suspect that that's problematic.
Sure, it is, right? And you get into a habit of, or at least I do, I get into a habit of, I get moments where I'm very confident. I'm like, yep, I understand this part of therapy. We're going to talk about this. We're going to do this thing. And then I second guess myself. And that's where the issue for me personally comes in.
And I'm sure a lot of people do this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so since we're on the topic,
Yeah.
what are some things that people can do to counter that?
I think one of the biggest things, I see this a lot with high school kids that come and see me, right? They're like, I should be this perfect student. I should be this, and I'm not. So it must not be true, right? And this catastrophizing thinking where they spiral down. The biggest thing that we do is a DBT skill called check the facts, right? You just want to mentally, for me and for what I talk to them about, these kiddos, is you want to just check the facts. Like, what are the odds that you're not this person? And I do it for myself, right? I'm like, well, yeah, I don't feel like I'm a therapist. I shouldn't be a therapist because I don't fit this mold. But what's the reality? And I check those facts. Reality is I'm licensed, I'm doing this thing, and I've got people that come and see me. So yeah, I'm actually doing this thing.
Do you think that it's a self-esteem issue for people?
Yeah, I think it can be, right? Whether that's an internal self-esteem where it's like, yeah, I don't feel this thing this way, and it doesn't match with these thoughts that I have, or it's external, what I would call external, like a parent or a friend, somebody along the way has said, dude, that's not you. you're not that person. You're not any good. You're not, and whatever that looks like. And then that feeds into that internal perspective, I think.
And I think in some cases, and I think for me from the outside looking at you,
Huh.
like I look at it and say, maybe there is like to me, it's like a bell curve,
Okay.
right? Bell curve. And I think this would be the case with everything.
Yeah.
Bell curve. So you have the vast majority of people are just kind of all right, average, whatever. And then you have those that are like really, really like crazy awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have just a handful of people that are just not so good, right? They're not crazy awesome at all. So the vast majority of people are just kind of in the middle. You got some that are extremely awesome and some that are not so good.
Sure.
I think when I look at imposter syndrome, when I look at like if I were to say, okay, let's get a group of therapists, I suspect it's the same thing. Most people would be like, okay, well, yeah, this is the person that wears a sweater vest and smokes a pipe and takes notes.
Yeah.
You sit on a couch. And I look at you and say, okay, well, you're on the extreme of like awesomeness, right? Because and I'm being serious about it, where you have like some people don't respond well to that kind of average way, right? But when you see a person who resonates with you, someone who's like, this guy's just like me, or this guy's easy to talk to, or whatever it might be. Like to me, I look at that and say, okay, I could see why people would think you're amazing.
Oh.
And that's all there is to it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks,
Well,
Dave.
and it's totally true. But
did you see that I was feeling a little uncomfortable with you talking? I was like scratching the back of my head, like I wanted to back out of this conversation.
I totally see that, and I think that's awesome because it just means that you are a humble person too. But I do believe that from the bottom of my heart, and I'm not just saying that to make you feel good.
No.
I think it's true.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem at all. Now I wanted to ask. So you mentioned, like, I mean, again, we kind of gloss over a little bit. A person comes into the range and dies by suicide.
Yes.
Tell me how. I don't want you to get into details necessarily, but I want to know more about how it affected the staff. I mean, what happened after that? What did we find out about the person? Why would what would cause that? I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question. And as far as the staff go, there were a couple of, it's a gun store. There's a lot of different types of personalities that are there. At the time, there were, I lucked out on this because I think this was just kind of the way it ended up. But the person that had died by suicide on the range was in the range, and they had rented the range for a little while. But every single, there were 2 off-duty EMTs that had just gotten off shift that were in one of the stalls shooting. There was a combat medic for the military that was in one of the stalls, and like their reaction was instantaneous, and which was great. The local PD here, they responded extremely well, and so that was all under wraps, and all taken care of. They were doing their thing, but one thing I noticed was there was a couple of my employees that were there that were fairly young. They were just kind of in that beginning ages where they could legally work at a range, and this is the first time that they'd ever seen anything like that. And so I think it kind of rung their bell a little bit, and they had a lot of questions and a lot of guilt. Like, should I have not allowed this person on the range? Not the issue, that's the wrong word. The thing to think about was, well, you found out later through family members that had come in and talked to us, is this wasn't the first time. This person had tried a few times, and this unfortunately was the moment where they had made that decision, and that's how it ended. So realistically, looking back, right, there's only a small window that you have to be able to change that mindset when somebody has that. But I think it left a mark on all of us in some way or another. And for me, it was just kind of a solidifying moment where it was like, okay, there's definitely a need for this. I'm gonna head down that road and see what that looks like.
Yeah, because I mean, you have a business. It's successful. People are coming in. I mean, they're doing cool stuff. And
Yeah.
like I remember thinking, wow, Rowdy's changing. Yeah, going to a different job, different career, and I thought, man, that's kind of the same thing I do. But yeah, I think that's cool. Now, one thing I wanted to ask. Now, we kind of talked about it a little while back, a few weeks back, and I know that suicide is a touchy subject.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. And one of the things is anytime there's a discussion about suicide, sometimes it gives people ideation.
Sure.
And so I definitely don't want to go that direction, right? I mean, anyone who's listening that's like, yeah, let's talk about solutions as opposed to ideation. Do you have a lot of knowledge in suicide and why people do it? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, humbly, I would say, oh, I probably don't know much about it, but yeah, I've been doing it for quite a few years.
So what causes that? What makes it so a person feels like that's it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things there's a couple of things that I wanna mention, if that's okay.
Of course.
Probably the biggest thing is a lot of people they have this. I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, well, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. So why should I get involved? Why should that be a thing? And the thing to think about that I've noticed and that the research talks about is that most people who have suicidal ideation, they don't sit there and go, this is what I'm going to do. I want to do this thing. It's more of the fact that I've got this pain, I've got this emptiness, I've got this feeling, this emotion. Typically, I'll say I've got this pain. I just want it to stop. I don't know how else to do it. I've tried these other options. I just don't know um, how to make this pain stop. And so they get in that mindset and they're like, oh, this is probably the best thing for me. Sometimes they'll justify it by like, this is probably a better option for my family. And that's where they get into that. Yeah.
I know in talking to my children, I've got 4 children. The youngest is just about to start his senior year here in the fall. And I always tell them because I know that sometimes people who are in that mindset feel stuck.
Yeah.
They're just like, "Okay, there is no way out. It's not going to get better. It's, whatever the situation is, they feel like it's there forever."
Yeah.
And I tell my kids, I said, if ever you have any of that sort of thinking, come and talk to me and we will immediately change whatever the situation is. If that means moving, if that means taking you out of school, if that whatever it is,
Yeah.
we will do whatever is required to make it so that you don't have to feel stuck. And I'm dead serious about that. I mean, if my kid were to come to me and say, I've got this problem with school, I've got these kids that are doing this and I don't see any way out. And it's, it feels like it's, something I should be concerned about.
Yeah.
I'll be like, dude, you're never going to that school again.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're not going back.
Yeah.
And if it means we're going to move to another city, whatever it is, that to me is the way to do it. And I hope that's helpful for them.
Dave, I love that approach. I think if anything could be taken away from this episode would be for parents would be to have that mindset. Like, let's talk about it, open up those communication, and let your kiddo just talk about how they're feeling in a non-judgmental thing, right? There's a lot of parents out there. If I say this, you're probably going to think of a few parents that or even growing up, this was a mindset that it's like, oh, you're being dramatic. No, this isn't it. You're just fine. Knock it off. You just want attention, right? And to switch that mindset and just say, listen, I'll listen to anything that you have to say right now. I'm not going to judge anything. We're going to work through this together, and I will help you in any way that you can. That opens up so much for anybody, really, right? Mostly with high school kids, kids in general, but that's mostly what I see is high school kids.
Yeah, because things are different now. I mean, they always talk about how, oh yeah, back in my day it was like this. I mean, the kids nowadays they have a harder time than we did when we were that age.
I would agree with that, 100%.
And I can tell you that I have one of my children came to me one time and she says, this is the situation I was in, and she was not happy about it, and it was a situation that affected her, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. Let's move on from here, as opposed to why would you do such a thing? Or, it's that judgment and that other way of thinking. I mean, it was an opportunity for me to say, hey, let me show you some love.
Yeah.
Let's just get through this together and, make myself and my wife, not just me, but helping our kids out. And I
love that.
I feel it affects me when I find out about, just people who, lost the battle, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah.
And now some people will say when a person dies by suicide, they died of mental health problems. How do you feel about something like that?
Man, I don't like labeling people with things like that, because I feel like you experience something and you're going through it, and sometimes it's really, really heavy and you just can't see through the fog, and all of a sudden you come up with an idea and that's it, right? Um, some people like that terminology, mental health problem. I think it's just an experience, and that's, and not to minimize it by any means, but I think there's some real struggle out there, and I don't like label. Like I said, I don't like labeling people with it, but um, I think it's growing. I think there's more out there, and I think there's a need to address it. But
I think that's the biggest thing is just getting stuff out in the open,
yeah,
not having it be a stigma anymore.
yeah,
You know, as parents talking to children, it's like, dude, talk to me. Talk to me about how you're feeling. You're sad. Talk to me about it. You've been sad for 3 weeks. Talk to me about it. You know,
yeah,
you got kids that are making fun of you at school. That are bullying you around. Let's talk about it. You know, let's see what we can do
yeah,
together to solve this problem together.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love that, and I think that's the biggest, if I want to call it an issue with suicide, is a lot of people think if we're talking about it, I'm putting the idea in their head that, oh, if I say this, if I talk to my kid and I walk up and I, hey, are you going through this? Are you thinking about suicide? Then if they're not, I'm putting that idea in their head. That's not even right. That's not even close to being true. The fact of the matter is, if you're suspecting, they've already thought about it, and you're not going to put anything in their head like, oh, yeah, that's right, I should look into that. No, if anything, it's just going to open that door and be like you said, let's just talk about it and let's not judge, and let's just do this thing and we'll make it through together. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. And I by no means am I saying that I've got this all figured out.
Uh,
But I tell my kids, like, some of the stuff that we would, you know, in the old days, we'd be like, "Are you seriously talking about that?" You
yep.
know, I do talk to my kids and I tell them, "Hey, if you ever struggle with any of these sorts of things, come and talk to us." And I'll say the words out loud, you know?
Well,
And
that
yeah, I don't have it all figured out,
got a
but
pretty good grip on it.
just trying, you know,
Yeah.
just trying. And I think that's a big part of it.
Cool. I love it.
So, all right. So tell me, it seems like every once in a while we get in these episodes where we're just, oh, wow, that was heavy.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about kind of what you're up to now.
Right now I work for a place called SNS Counseling. I'm working there. We do the kind of the cool thing that we do there that I've kind of started to dive into a little bit is equine therapy or equine therapy. I've heard it both ways. I just had a session last night with it, and I absolutely love that form of therapy, right? I think if people were to start going to therapy that have this ideation that I'm going to lay on the couch and they're going to ask me about my mom, yeah, that can be part of it. That's a little bit of talk therapy, but I think we do all these different things. And one of them that I like to do is equine therapy, where we work with horses and we work with clients who are struggling with different things.
So walk me through the process. A person comes in, you want to do equine therapy. From kind of beginning to end, what would happen?
Yeah, so they come in and we do what's called an intake assessment. We decide why they feel like they need to come to therapy, and in that process, we'll be like, "Hey, what do you feel about equine therapy, working with horses?" And if they're like, "I love that idea," obviously we don't want to make them uncomfortable. But if they're like, "I want this," or "Yeah, that's a great idea," or "Hey, read this on the website and I want to be a part of it," then we set it up and we meet at a place here locally that has horses, and there's a equine certified lady there that helps us with that. And we get down there and we start out slow. You get the person in the pasture, and it's kind of a cool thing because the first time, I'm speaking of the one we worked with last night, when we first started doing equine with this person, high school kid, they showed up, we walked out in the pasture and they just stood there. That was all. Hey, I want you to just stand here. And off in the corner, there were 5 or 6 horses. And the person's like, I'm just going to stand here. Yep. That's all I want you to do is just stand here. And whatever horse comes up to you, that's the horse you're going to work with today, because horses are attracted to I call it a vibe, right? Your energy, your vibe. They'll pick up on whatever that is, and whatever horse is feeling that will approach you. And sure enough, this one horse comes up and stayed there the whole time. And this person was just petting the horse. And there was a spot during this session where, me and this equine lady were like, we're going to step away for a minute. I want you to tell the horse anything that's on your mind, because that horse isn't going to judge you, because this horse is just connected to your energy, right? And we stood back and we watched this. We were out of earshot, so we didn't know what was being said, but you could tell it was pretty intense. It was pretty cool. It was a cool experience.
What is it about horses that helps people with mental health challenges?
I think horses, like you said, are just like big dogs. I think animals in general, right? I always hear people coming in session and they're like, "Oh, I've got this cat that if I'm home and I'm going through something, I'm laying on the couch and the cat jumps up and curls up on my chest and I pet it and I'm good to go, right?" Dogs are the same way. Horses are no different. I think animals they just feel when you're going through something. And I always refer to it as energy. Um, there's that connection there. And horses are, last night, the session that we had was really cool. So this person has had confidence building up through several different sessions that we had with horses. And this time we got out of the pasture and they were able to lead a horse to an area that we had set up an obstacle course for. And the idea behind this was a bunch of different reasons why we did it. But one thing was to get the client to come up with a plan and navigate this horse through this thing. And
That's awesome.
it was really cool because to see this person, like, they had to come up with a plan for it. They had to then guide this horse through this obstacle course. And they went through it once. And there were a couple of times where they came back and we kind of processed a few things. And for an example, I was like, well, there was a little hurdle that you could have gone over, but you went around. Why'd you go around? And this client was like, well, my first instinct was to do something that's easier than harder. And I was like, cool. Where else has that happened in your life, right? And they're like, oh, this and this and this, right? But the whole time we're there, this horse wasn't, when we picture leading a horse, we picture holding onto the reins or the guide rope and the horse being a few paces back, and you're essentially dragging this horse. Was shoulder to shoulder, just going with this person. They were calm, they were comfortable around this person. This person was comfortable. It just puts everybody at ease, and it's just awesome to watch.
That's the coolest thing. I love animals. As you know, when in high school, I had a whole bunch of animals.
Yeah,
That were in the backyard, pigs and geese
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff. Even a crazy duck that had wings that were backwards and sounded like he always had a coffee.
You did have a crazy duck.
That's
Yeah.
right. You did. But yeah, those are good times. Animals are just amazing things.
Yeah.
So also tell me now, you got something going on though. You got something cooking.
I do. Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So this is brand new. Still kind of in the baby phases of it, but opening up my own private practice. And right now you have to, like, you start your business, you get a business license, all these things, and then you have to get what's called credentialed with insurance. So there's several insurances you have to apply so that you can take that insurance when a client comes in. So I'm in that phase right now where I've done all these applications. I'm waiting to hear back to get all these insurances. So people show up, they're like, hey, I have this insurance. Do you take it? Yes, we do. So right now I'm in that phase. I'm probably about a month away from that.
And what's the name of the clinic?
The clinic's called Revive Counseling, kind of a play on words. My last name's Reeve. And so we just kind of went with that and put Revive, because I think that sometimes when we hit those moments in our life where we're like, you call it an aha moment with mental health, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. You have that moment where you're like, you come up for air. You revive a little bit. And the logo, I'll just speak into that real quick. The logo is, some people think, oh, it's a sunrise or a sunset. And I think both play a huge role, right? Sunrise tells you that you have a whole day ahead of you, that you can just make it what it is, and you have all these things. A sunset tells you that no matter how crappy that day was, tomorrow's going to be a good day. And now that you've kind of made it through that obstacle. So
That's so awesome. So exciting. Tell me about the kind of, like, what kind of clients? Older people, younger people?
perfect. Yeah. So me, it's just me working it right now. I hope to bring on other therapists down the road, but right now I see high school kids, middle school up to adults. I don't necessarily see retired people or anything like that, but well, that's the demographic I put myself out there for. Most of my clients are high school kids, so I'll probably continue that. I hope to find some therapists maybe that specialize in families, couples, and young kids to do play therapy. But for right now, that's where we're at and what we're doing.
Well, and like I said earlier, I mean, you resonate with younger people. I mean,
Yes.
that's, you're an amazing person that way.
Oh, thank you.
And I see you getting uncomfortable again. You got to stop doing that. But
I am a little uncomfortable. I don't like people telling me that, but yeah.
no, it's good. I think you're going to do awesome because, yeah, you have an effect on people. I've seen that many, many times in my life, just the effect you have on people.
Thank you.
Now, before we go, I did have a question that came in one time. Sometimes we get questions that come in, and I wanted to address that, and maybe I'd ask you about that. So you've got you got credentials, and I don't. But we have a listener who said, "Hey, what happens? She's married to a therapist, and the therapist was struggling, doing some things, doing better,
Yeah.
and now has kind of not doing so well."
Okay.
What kind of advice would you give for the spouse or the partner of a person
Yeah.
who's in that situation?
Man, I think the big kind of the things that come to mind right now is if they were here, I don't know if it's a girl or boy, but if the spouse was here, definitely just acknowledge and validate that's a tough spot to be in as a spouse, right? You get to watch this person change or backslide, whatever you want to call it, relapse, whatever that looks like. That's a hard thing to watch, and I think recognizing that you're in that spot's a big thing. Probably the two things that come to mind would be to be a spouse that just holds a place for that person to just be who they are, right? Let them work through that on their own without judgment, without any kind of, I want to say expectation, but that might be a weird way to look at that, and just be like, yeah, that if they come and they say, this is what happened, this is where I'm at. Yeah, that's tough. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. But on the same token, I think it's really important to have boundaries for yourself. The spouse needs to have boundaries and be like, yeah, this is, I'm going to allow this space for you to be here, but I also, the expectation I put on myself is I get to be a human. I get to go out. I get to find a group of people that I can, for lack of a better word, I can connect with and talk about this too. And I think that's important. Building a connection with a group of people that will understand what you're going through and help you through that, because you can't do it alone. That's not a fun place to be in. But and then if it fits into her agenda or their agenda, I'm sorry, in their agenda to see a therapist, to go in and just have that spot where they're like, yeah, I need to talk to somebody about this.
Yeah, I mean, getting help themselves. I mean, we've seen this because we had the Barneys on, both Melissa Barney as well as Derek Barney, and it's the same thing. Melissa talking about how she saw what her spouse was going to, her best friend, and going through and trying to figure out how to handle it herself, and having people reach out was like the best thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah, such good people.
Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Rowdy, you are an amazing person. I'll say that again. It's probably the fourth time I've said that, but I'll probably say it again.
Well, thanks, Dave.
But I do appreciate you being here. You are awesome. I'm excited for your venture. And
Thanks.
for anyone who wants to get a hold of you, again, it's not a sponsored thing. You're not giving me any money, but how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way would just be reach out on my email and just send me an email and tell me what you think, or say hi, or whatever you need, we can help out with.
That sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Rowdy.
Thanks, Dave.
Cool. And thank you so much. We seriously appreciate you listening and watching as well. And I'm going to end the episode. We're going to talk about the suicide prevention hotline. See that announcement. You'll see that and hear that as well. If you are in that situation where you feel like there's no way out, reach out. Reach out. If your parents are people you can't talk to, reach out to someone else. There are therapists around. Give them a call. Just call the office. Call the suicide prevention hotline. Reach out, and you are not stuck. There are things you can do. I hope it works out for you as well. And for the rest of us as well, do thank you so much for being here. Anytime you want to reach out, Facebook, Navigating a Broken Vessel, as well as Instagram. Dave at navigatingabrokenvessel.com is my email address. And we'll see you on the next episode.